In Talking Points, these are unprecedented times for universities across the country. Proposed federal cuts to grants and National Institute of Health funding are leaving researchers and university programs on hold with uncertain futures. Then there are the galvanizing issues surrounding free speech as the Trump administration cracks down on anti-Semitism and domestic terrorism. Adding to that, the dismantling of DEI programs and the squeeze on universities from the federal government to get rid of DEI influence programs. The University of Minnesota finds itself in the bullseye of all of these issues, and that's why we're so thankful for President Rebecca Cunningham, President of the University of Minnesota, to come by and talk to us about these issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you are, I don't think that a lot of people know, you are actually an emergency room physician. Has that training prepared you well for what's going on right now?
It is wonderful management training. I woke up every day for 25 years focused on how I would address whatever crisis and chaos walked into my doors and how we would manage that with grace and dignity and with our mission involved in supporting patients.
All right. Well, there's a lot to cover here. There are currently two federal investigations in which the University of Minnesota is targeted, as are other universities. One alleges that, and this is from the Department of Justice, these are serious investigations, that you have excluded on the basis of race in graduate programs. The implication, what they're saying, is that you have excluded white people at the cost of putting in people of color. Can you respond to that one?
So there's a multitude of investigations that are going on, and we are certainly not alone across the country, as you mentioned, on this. The university stands firm in not discriminating on the basis of any protected class, including race, religion, identity, gender. We stand firmly. That has been our ongoing practice for years, and we will continue to cooperate with the investigations as we demonstrate that commitment to non-discrimination and not having bias.
All right. There's another investigation into race-based scholarships and segregation of students in certain classrooms. What's that about?
So I think you'll find a theme here is there's a multitude of investigations that are both ongoing as well as federal directives coming down every day. So in a similar vein, we are working to assess what those allegations are as we stand prepared to be clear that we do not discriminate and fully comply with anti-harassment, anti-bias, and Title VI.
On top of that, there's sort of this ominous threat that if this doesn't go well, this investigation for you, if the feds don't think it goes well, there's the threat of losing funding. How is that?
So certainly we see across the country a concern over loss of federal funding. I think Columbia is certainly top of mind for many university presidents.
$400 million, I believe, they're losing funding of, which is a lot.
Right. So, as we focus, again, certainly we are focused on ensuring that we are supporting all of our students, including our Jewish students. We stand firmly against anti-Semitism, and I have worked since I got to the University of Minnesota to ensure that we are talking with, getting advice from how we can have the most welcoming environment for our Jewish students. By speaking with students, by speaking with faculty. We recently joined the Hillel Campus Climate Initiative. We stand firmly against anti-Semitism, and we know we certainly, as the rest of the country, all needs to do more here, and we are prepared to do that well. We also work to ensure that welcoming climate for our students. But in regard to the federal funding component, if I step back a minute, viewers should know what federal funding does for us and for the state of Minnesota. And the University of Minnesota is a magnet. We bring in over $700 million a year of federal dollars to the state of Minnesota, where we employ with that over 11,000 parts of 11,000 people, 3,500 FTEs every year depend on those dollars. That money also turns into innovation and knowledge and discovery and creates clinical trials for which Minnesotans across the state engage in to help advance the diseases and well-being that they have. And also we use those funds every year to turn out, this past year, 25 startup companies which impact the economy of the city and state. startups like.
Well, it's a lot of money, and that's why people are concerned about it. Well, let's segue right into NIH funding, the National Institute of Health. You know this because you've actually worked on NIH grants as a physician and as a researcher. Tell us approximately how much money are we talking about a year when it comes to reimbursements and outright grants that they're threatening to cut?
So again, we have a total NIH funding. We have $400 million of NIH funding. If that overhead rate was cut, that some people call it the reimbursement rate, the overhead rate, if that was cut from 55%, which 54%, which we get now, to 15%, we would immediately lose $100 to $150 million this year and every year after that. And again, that is money that actually does the research. And so I try to give the example for folks, and that money isn't separate from the research. It's as though you have a football team. You can't just fund the football team. You have to fund the stadium that they operate, that they work in, and the weight room too. And that's what that money does.
And this is a proposed cut. How are you getting ready to kind of fight that or put up an offense to take on this, because it's a very serious threat? And I don't think people realize how much the University of Minnesota does when it comes to this important medical research.
This research saves lives. Everybody in your audience knows somebody who was saved by a life-saving treatment or medical device that was developed with NIH money. So it is critical work and a critical part of our mission here at the University of Minnesota to support that knowledge generation for biomedical improvements in health. And so we're certainly examining what that sort of cut would do. We're also partnering with research universities across the country, such as the AAU. This would impact not just Minnesota, but states, every state across the country, and how we work together to make what we do more clear and why, to make it more obvious why that money is indeed critical to doing this sort of life-saving critical work.
All right. The Board of Regents recently adopted a policy which some people say impinges on the freedom of speech and the ability of people to express themselves who are affiliated with the university. This happened, it sounds like only certain people can speak on behalf of the university, that the university is not going to make a statement on public policy or public debate across the country. Is this reining in free speech on campus?
No, it is not reining in free speech on campus. In fact, the board policy, I believe, actually expands the individual and our individual faculty's ability to have open debate and discourse. What this is doing is simply saying, distinguishing when the university is taking a position on something, on a natural disaster, for example. The university is taking a position on some things, and who can take that position? University departments, university centers, when they are speaking on behalf of the university, but individuals have the right, and our individual faculty, then when we don't speak on those matters, it gives them the broadest venue to have active debate and discourse.
If you do speak on the matter, are individual faculty members and departments allowed to voice their opinion?
Individual faculty, we believe strongly in academic freedom. This is the right which is critical for universities to be able to write, speak, research on any matter that they deem important, and to have differing views on that from any view of the university.
I want to ask about the freedom of speech for Palestinian students who may have green cards, they may have other visas. There have been some arrests of one well-known student in New York. What are they allowed to say? Because I've been to the protests on your campus that are in support of Gaza, and these protesters will say they're not supporting Hamas. Obviously, their critics say that they are, but can they speak out and say they don't support Israel's policies?
The university has had a strong focus, and I did coming in last year, on making sure individuals have the right for free speech, and that includes the right for our students and our faculty to voice whatever opinion they have on a particular conflict in a protest format. We do ask that there are time and place regulations on how they do that to ensure safety and open engagement across our campus. But they certainly have the right to protest and to voice their views. and that we encourage them to do that regardless of what their view is on a particular conflict, including the Middle East.
I want to switch gears here and talk about the proposal to merge the University of Minnesota health systems with Essentia, which provides health care to rural Minnesota. It's something that you obviously feel very strongly about, but there are questions about Fairview, who's the current partner, who owns some of the facilities at the U. It's an awfully tangled web. The arrangement between you and Fairview expires next year. Are you optimistic that some kind of an arrangement can be made that will end up providing the kind of health care that people can get here in the Twin Cities all around the state?
Well, we have to find a solution going forward because, again, those contracts do end. And what we have here is an opportunity to really chart a new bold course for the university and for the state of Minnesota for health. We train 70% of the workforce. Your doctor, no matter where you are in Minnesota, likely was trained 70% at the University of Minnesota. So it's critical for us to advance and stabilize our medical school and our mission so that we can continue to provide this workforce, which we know is in short supply and getting in shorter supply across Minnesota. Okay. Our vision here with Essentia will come together, hopefully with our Fairview partners. We are indeed looking forward to that, and I am optimistic that we'll be able to find a solution that really advances the whole health of Minnesota, including really decreases the time and distance across rural Minnesota, increases access to rural health care.
All right, for somebody who's taking a lot of bullets, you seem very optimistic about how things are going at the University of Minnesota and how things will continue to go. Is that just your nature, or is that based on the circumstances?
It's both. I'm very passionate. The University of Minnesota is an amazing place and amazing asset for the state of Minnesota. We provide tremendous economic impact. We provide $11.5 billion a year of economic impact to the state of Minnesota. We train the vast majority of the workforce. Our students stay here and our citizens for the state. It's an amazing place that contributes so much, and I'm passionate about that mission. And these are turbulent times, and we've been here 170 years here as your research university in the state of Minnesota, and we certainly plan to make it through these times and continue to be the great asset for the state that you hope us to be.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Cunningham, for coming in. That does it for this edition of Talking Points. Please email me with comments and suggestions. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Esme Murphy, WCCO News.